We'll see. Hello, everybody.
Hey, guys. It's so good to see you. What's up, Will? It's good to see you, brother.
How's it going, Josh?
It's going fine, man. I'm excited to be here for another point of view episode. The first one we're doing live, but then we've done a couple other live episodes and we're trying this out. We love doing this and we're excited about kind of interacting with our audience more and you guys who are joining us and who will see this later when we post this. Make sure that you're tuning in and checking out our Facebook page and all that so you can see when we're going live and when we are doing these different events. We got several things coming up beyond the echo chamber. We got coming up. That's a new kind of project we have where we're going to get different scholars and have them really go in depth on some of the issues and presentations. And we got faith roundtables coming out. We got just regular old faithful politics episodes coming out, and all of them are just chock full of insight, I think, at least. And I'm excited to be able to do this. So thanks, guys, for jumping on. And as we have people come on, make sure you can hit the comments if you want to send us a question or anything or make a comment. We'd love for you guys to do that and be a part of this with us. And we're excited. How are you feeling about it, Will?
All right, I think. I mean, like
some technical difficulties we've been having right before, so that's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I mean, like if I can just, if I can just be real for a minute.
Please be real. It's so real. You're so real.
like us recording normal podcasts generally isn't that big of a deal because it's just like, three people talking. When you do something live, it's almost like all my social anxieties start to kind of like kick up. And it's why we don't do a lot of live events, because I'm just like, I love people, but my PTSD just does not allow me to like get comfortable. That said, if my numbers are correct, there's only one person watching us right now. So whoever you are, it is still just like the three of us. So I'm going to, rationalize it that way and get my mind off stuff. But we were actually talking to how, like, you and I have conversations like this all the time.
Yes.
And, I learned stuff from you, you learned stuff from me. And really it's like, we thought, people don't really get a chance to just see folks on opposite sides of the political spectrum, even on like the opposite sides of the race spectrum. And so I don't know, I just thought it'd be just neat for people to see that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And having these kind of conversations, I love. Tonight we're going to do some fun stuff here, right? We're going to talk about some news stories. I know you got some topics you're thinking about. And then each of us pick two questions that we're going to send to each other. And we're going to kind of get into that after we've gone through some of these news stories and kind of looked at them. And I've looked up some news stories that have to do with faith and politics. I mean, that's all what we talk about, but specifically really pushing into the faith community and what's going on. And I'm looking forward to just sharing those. And nothing's going to be too profound, but just kind of seeing, it's amazing to try to see what's really going on in the headlines that are coming out, because you don't even think about it. And then now, like, we have such access, we can go into ChatGPT, can search, Gemini can search, Perplexity can search. Claude can't search yet. Come on, Anthropic. I love your product, but you got to get me some searching on there. And I'm sure I've missed like 100 of these large language models.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I trust that everything you're saying is probably based on years and years of research.
Some kind of factual basis. Well, I appreciate that you trust me. It might be a little bit not placed in in the right way. But I'm looking forward to getting into this. So how about we do this? Well, let me uh, pull some of these headlines out that I was looking at it, and we can just kind of riff on that. I'll throw one out there, and then you and I can talk about it, and then you throw your topic out there. And again, if you guys want, if anyone is joining throughout this time, just send us some comments. Make sure that you're letting us know what you're thinking. So, excuse me. It's interesting looking at this. So, one, I didn't even know this was happening, which happens all the time, right? I'll say something, you'll be like, Josh, that was like 6 months ago. And I'm like, man, that's crazy, right? That happens all the time. But looking at doing some research and just research, typing it in, trying to see what's going on in my search engines. The Supreme Court is to hear a case on Maine's ban on using public funds for religious schools. It says here the U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments in a case challenging Maine's prohibition on using public funds for religious education, potentially impacting the separation of church and state. Have you followed this at all, Will? Were you looking at this?
No, I wasn't.
So it's kind of crazy, huh? Like, and it makes me think about this, like this idea, like what do we think about these funds that are either given or taken away from these religious associations or even these religious schools? Is this in particular religious education? But what do we do with some of these these funding that goes out? Like for instance, you sent me this this list of all the money that has gone to these like evangelical or Christian like association. And it was like 660 something million to World Vision. World Vision, if you're listening, dude, let me know how you did that. Who did you talk to? Who are your contacts? Liberty University got a bunch of money. There's several other things. What do you think about these bans on getting public funds, or even thinking about how if people should, in organizations that are religious, should they be getting any public funds? Should they not be getting any funds? What do you think?
I think. Oh, and for those watching us, I'm getting reports from my wife that there's some issues with YouTube. Oh
no.
I'm really sorry. I was like, I want to
bummed out about that, dude.
I want to click this thing because my kids were expecting like a high or something, and it's kind of a bummer. But anyway,
it's okay. We'll get that all figured out. In due time.
To answer your question, what do I think about public funds going to religious institutions or religious whatever? I mean, my views are somewhat mixed for a variety of different reasons. Number one, like our funds have always gone to certain religious types of institutions in one way or another, charitable, even like chaplains, in churches. I think you and I had a conversation once about like, man, imagine like having a ministry where you never had to fundraise.
That'd be amazing,
because your building is all paid for, and like you're not necessarily sort of living and breathing based on how generous people are feeling or whatever. So as far as like being surprised that public funds are being used and for religious purposes, that doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me, I think, is more or less the religious influence into those public funds and how it's kind of expanding. So like it starts, it's like one small kind of government handout is like the gateway drug, and then it just sort of leads into bigger and bigger things where you're like, oh, I can use the government to fund school choice initiatives that are going to like require us all to go to like religious schools or whatnot. So I don't know. Yeah, that I'm not surprised, but
Yeah, I'm not either. Like I was looking at it a little more. It looks like Maine revised its Human Rights Act in 2021 before this thing called the Carson decision, uh, which was in 2022, that the Supreme Court, that Maine's ban on using public funds for religious schools. This issue was already decided by the Supreme Court in June 2022 in the case of Carson v. Macon. In that 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court struck down Maine's prohibition on using public funds for religious education. But it looks like Maine has faced ongoing legal challenges related to its attempts to continue to restrict schools' participation in funding programs. And so now they're going to have this back, which was just, it just brings up again all these issues. It's like the same kinds of things coming back again and again. And when it comes to money and the way that money is used, right? And this is like the whole thing happening with Doge right now. Where's the money going? Why are we spending this money? Why are we spending money, sending money over? I guess what, there's all sorts of weird things that have been said, and who knows how it all shakes out in the end. But like, our money going to help a DEI play in Ireland. Now, again, DEI, that's worth talking through, right? It's obviously, I know that's close to your heart, Will, and I have no issues with it, like just on its face, right? Yeah, diversity, equity, inclusion, that's great. And yet the question of why we're sending millions of dollars to help a play in Ireland, I think that's worth asking. I think that's worth wondering about. And it's this, but my point is that it's like it's the same kind of thing when there's money involved. People are wondering why are my tax dollars going towards this? And it's always that perpetual question, that perpetual issue. And I just think it's fascinating. We're going to keep seeing this stuff come up. What's one of the topics you're thinking about, Will?
Oh, well, so last night, President Trump gave a not an official State of the Union address. It was just a presidential address in front of a joint session of Congress. So in his speech, I admit it, I didn't like get through the whole 100 minutes. But I did watch.
Yeah, dude, it was long.
I watched a good 70 minutes of it.
You're a saint.
Jinx, we both just took a sip of stuff.
That's like a glitch in the Matrix, dude.
Yeah. I watched it. It was I don't know. I mean, it was Trump. So I mean, it was basically a rally. As you would imagine, he used a lot of the stuff that got people kind of riled up or whatever, and people were excited, and Democrats booed, and one congressman actually got escorted out by the sergeant of arms. Al Green. Yeah, I don't know what
because he was like heckling or something like that.
Well, he just wouldn't sit down. He would just stay standing, and he had a cane, and he's like waving his cane in protest. Like, I mean, like on what, it's like I feel that energy, I mean, but and then some Democrats boycotted it, and they were being very disruptive, and yeah, so it was like wild, but it was weird, and it was weird for this reason, the fact that normally I'm all for decorum. Hey, like let's at least try to keep some of our bits of institution intact, like the traditions and the customs, like, hey, you've got basically the entire branch of government all under one roof,
Yeah.
You got SCOTUS, Congress.
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah. And which I wonder who the person that, like, whenever there's like gosh, why can't I think of the name? Somebody's going to watch this and be like, oh, it's that person. But it's the person that goes in hiding in case something happens to everybody in that building. The designated survivor. I think that's what it is. But
Designated survivor. Yes, because that was a show.
yeah. Yeah. So what I was going to say, the thing I think that I was surprised about was the fact that I was okay with the way that the Democrats were behaving, and was actually upset that they weren't protesting harder because of like how bad Trump is just like destroying this country right now, and it just breaks my heart, and I don't remember. I don't ever remember a time, in my partisan sort of like life where I felt okay for them to kind of like crank up the heat, but I just felt like we're just in this moment right now where, you know, somebody needs to do something. And, if you can do that something in quiet protest, like you should do more of that. So,
That's so interesting to me, man. So I want to play devil's advocate. People who have watched the show, they know that I voted for Trump in 2016. I didn't in 2020. I didn't in 2024. I didn't vote Democrat either of those times. Just so people, all my conservative right wing friends don't just like leave me and basically assign me to hell because I didn't vote for Trump. Not that you guys would do that. I know that you guys love me. And I'm pretty open about that. Many pastors, many people like aren't, right. It's a very
mm,
private thing, and I understand that's fine. But I want to play devil's advocate because there's a lot of people, uh, right. Everyone will say I can't stand. By the way, just like I'll see like a meme or something on social media that's just like 77 million people aren't a cult. 77 million people aren't whatever. And again, the millions. And it's like, yeah, I get that. And yet that's categorizing just as much as anything else,
mm,
like assuming that all 77 million people were voting for Donald Trump for the same reasons or whatever. Like that's very much an overgeneralization.
yeah.
And so, like, there's a lot of different reasons. We've talked about this. We've had people on the podcast that have talked about, experts on, they're trying to understand why. Like, and it's like some people are, their minds are so blown that anyone, that someone would vote for Trump.
Mm.
And many other people are like, I don't even understand why you would think I wouldn't vote for Trump. Right. So, in playing devil's advocate, and there's some things that I've seen that I really haven't liked. And these aren't necessarily as much policy stuff, although there are some policy things. And one of my issues is that I'm just so ignorant in a lot of these areas that I want to be careful that I don't say something that's not true, number one. And then it'll get taken, it'll go viral. The only thing that will go viral is not like all the great content we're putting out. It'll be pastor says this and it's false, and it'll end up on some, I don't know, conservative talk head. And, that's like my nightmare, um, but in playing that devil's advocate, why, you said a pretty strong statement there. Like Donald Trump is destroying this country. I saw another picture, like, like political cartoons are coming all over the place, on social media. And the political cartoon was Donald Trump looking like Nero, the emperor, looking out upon the city burning, and he's like playing a violin. So like the idea, like that comes from a story about how Nero was basically entertaining himself while Rome was burning, and not really doing anything to take care of it. Right. So again, is that completely true? I don't know. I'm not an expert in that, but that's kind of the imagery there. And it's a well-known imagery for those who are really familiar with Rome and history of Rome and all that. So I'm thinking about this, like, in what ways is that image in your mind true? Like, is Donald Trump really, like, how can we really say that he's there watching America burn, not caring about it? I mean, I know that kind of, and whatever metaphor you want to use, whatever, thing you want to say, image you want to portray about it, right? The idea is that we have this guy who's selfish. This is the idea. He's selfish. He's doing whatever he wants, and he's doing things that are terrible for America, right? And yet, I could say all sorts of things like about, any number of politicians and say this is terrible, or I would hear the same kinds of things about Obama, or things about Biden, and obviously we all know that. But I would love, you follow this stuff. I know you've thought about it so much. Why do you think that Donald Trump is causing issues? What do you think is going on? Why did you say that? I guess if I could just put it really simple.
Yeah. So I think, my biases front and center. I've noticed a few behaviors and people that are pretty partisan. I mean, I try to be bipartisan, but like at the end of the day, like I'm more likely to cheer for Team Blue than Team Red. So with that as sort of like the foundation, most people don't really follow their politicians that are on their team very closely, but they tend to follow, the opposing side's politicians. So, like, if you talk to, I don't know, random person on the street, hey, name me 5, people from this political party that you don't like, and they'll go down the list, and they're like, okay,
Right.
name
Pelosi.
Me 5, yeah, name me 5 people in your political party, and they'll be like, president, like, and I'm not saying that to be critical, because that's what I do. I mean, but I do try to find, politicians that I actually can agree with them on some issues. All that to say, whenever people use like hyperbole to describe the actions of like a politician they don't like, it's generally more long term. It's like forward thinking. It's like we may not necessarily, go into World War III tomorrow, or next year, but like if we keep on this trajectory, then I could see, I can envision a path for us to get to this place.
And the place being World War III.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's happening.
Well, no, I get that. Yeah, I mean, I understand, but I just want to make sure I understand like the depth of your concern.
When people, look at a politician that they like, they generally don't think that far out. They think, what are the price of eggs? Like, what's my immediate short-term sort of like itch that I need to have scratched? Like, is that person I voted for scratching that? Great, perfect. And everybody does this. So with what Trump has done so far, and like just his first couple weeks in office, I mean, he's totally like flip the tables. I hate to use that Messiah like sort of term, because that's not going to help anybody. But he's essentially like, if the swamp were competent government officials that just want to do a good job, earn a paycheck, and go home, then he's doing a good job draining them. And there's a report out today that they're going to be laying off like 80,000 like VA workers. I mean, like, I go to the VA, and like I think I posted something kind of just snarky, about like, well, good, because I was thinking to myself, why would I, want to see my doctor 3 months from now when I can, see him 3 years from now? Because that's just how appointments are, and that's just how a lot of VA systems are kind of ran. And then when you go there, you bless the hearts of the people that work there. Like I have a a piece of, I don't know if it's metal or what it is, but it's I had these implants put into my back because of my low back pain. I was a saw gunner. Um, um, and they did the surgery twice, because the first time um, they didn't like anchor the wires right. So then the wires just started like creeping through like the muscles in my back. and I had to go to the doctor, or I went to the ER, and then they're like cutting these things off, and they're like, well, we can't get the last bit here. So like I went to go see the doctor the next day, and they couldn't, and they couldn't get it out. And so anyways, long story long, I have a piece of like this like metal in my hip that I can feel like every single day. And they won't remove it, because they're just like, oh, well, like when I told them, they're just like, well, you did sign that form, that's like,
remember that form that you clicked and signed?
Yeah, the one that like waived all responsibility, that one. So there you go. And
dude, can I just say that reminds me, I love Arrested Development. It's this great show, and there's this scene from it where Buster is one of like he's like this part of the family, and he's got all these issues and all this delayed like development, but he's just like super immature is really what it is. But he joins the army, and then he's getting a medal from the army, and the guy talked so fast and basically re-enlisted him in the army, and he had no idea what he was saying because the guy talks so fast, and they slow it down, and he's like, by taking this medal, do you hereby re-enlist into the United States military? And he's like, thank you, or saying thank you, and he says it's all slow. And it reminds me of like the kinds of things that get put like kind of under the radar, and then we do it. So there's a lot of layoffs, right? I'm hearing from you. Obviously, Trump has put a lot of layoffs in here. So I'm reading this, and I'm like, I'm actually a little bit shocked, because as you're talking, I was looking this up. Since President Trump took office in January 2025, approximately 200,000 federal workers have been fired or had their roles eliminated across multiple agencies.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Well, I didn't count them personally.
200,000?
But the number wouldn't surprise me. I mean, like there's not a single person I know that works in government that isn't or hasn't been affected by this one way or another, like friends, acquaintances that have taken the buyout. We've had people that are essentially transferring from one job, department, state to another, who are on probation, because everyone's on probation with their first year of the job, that are let go because they had this, hey, we're getting rid of all new hire, anybody on probation. Probation extended to that like 25-year employee that was going from like a GS12 to a GS13. like upgrade in their pay, whatever lifestyle, and then get fired. And so like the example I gave about the VA, I mean, literally that's just like one small tiny fraction that
it's a small thing
that will personally affect me. But I mean, he's done stuff like with the USAID stuff, that is just going to have like long reaching consequences. His actions towards Zelensky. And I mean, like I have friends in other countries that are texting me saying, you okay, Will? And I'm just like,
That's funny.
I'm like, you okay? You got this AFD thing going on over there, like, but like it, and we're not even at 100 days yet, and
And he
uh,
said it's just getting started, dude.
just getting started. So
We
to
got a
answer your
couple
question,
comments, dude. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Answer. Yeah, put that
yeah,
in there, and then I
yeah,
want to just acknowledge these comments.
yeah. Wait, hold on. Do you have the button to
Oh
show it?
yeah, let's show on screen. Here we go from Michael Warden. What's up, Mike? The Oval Office exchange should have happened behind closed doors, but the Biden administration had no interest in ending any wars, and neither does Zelensky. All right, thanks for your input, brother. And then let's get Rhonda Akers says Donald Trump and JD Vance attacked President Zelensky and refused to admit Putin started the war and is the actual dictator. That jumped off the screen, but he said he also has referred to himself as king on the White House website, which yes, I did see that. And of course, we can get into all that and say, is he
Well,
kidding? Is he serious? But yeah,
so,
appreciate the feedback. Go ahead. You can respond to
yeah,
any of
I
that
want to
stuff.
I want to at least just add something to what Rhonda stated, because and I've said this to anybody that would listen, is that my shock of what Trump's doing um was pretty tapered. People first couple weeks were like, "How are you doing, Will?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like it's okay." I'm expecting all of this because I've been following, so like none of this is really a surprise to me.
He basically has said he was going to do as such, essentially, correct?
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of people are I don't want to say woke or whatever, but a lot of people are just realizing, hey, like this stuff is actually impacting me in some way, so I better start paying attention. So I get text messages and emails and stuff, and like me, I'm always trying to just connect people with people that I trust, even if it's like a Trump supporter, texting me and saying, hey, did Trump really say this? Because like my liberal friend sent it to me, and I'm like, well, I'm a liberal, like so. But I'm like, no, he didn't really say that. Look, here's how you do a Google image search, like, and you can actually like
Yes.
figure out if it's fake, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. But anyways, back to Rhonda's point about him referring himself as king. That's all grounded on this like deep lore. I mean, stuff that we talk about a lot on our podcast. So you have to forgive me if you're watching this and you know this already, but there are whole swaths of church going people that think that Trump is like a King Cyrus in the Bible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's all based off of like a
King
gentleman.
Cyrus type.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because
I mean that. Yeah.
Isaiah 45, something like that. 45th
45th
president.
president, Isaiah 45. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's a book out there that's titled like Trump, the Son of Man, the Christ. I mean, it's wild. I mean, even his own FBI director wrote a children's book, three parts. That is, I think it's, what is it called? It may just be called like Trump the King or something like that. Like the existing FBI director wrote a kid's book. So
no, that's not Kash Patel. Sorry, I'm getting that's a CIA, right? Or is that FBI?
No, it is Kash Patel. Yeah.
So Kash Patel wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Kash, can you write me a book about me so my children can see how great I am? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So truly, Kash will rule everything around us.
Want somebody that'll preach right there. Yeah, dude, I really appreciate what you're saying, and that we're in such a difficult season as a country, and people will assign it to different reasons. My heart is really burdened because I have so many people that I love that are literally on both sides of this, and I really am praying and hoping that politics won't divide us even more than it already has. That's probably a vain hope. But I'm trying to stay as neutral as I can. Although some people would probably think, yeah, it's a joke. You're not neutral. And I get that. I get why people would think that, especially with the things, that I've said about my own personal opinions on Trump and stuff like that. But, I don't know the man. I don't have like some super intense judgment on him as a person, although many people would probably think I should. And I know I could look at all the different things that I've seen, and I don't know. I'm a gray area kind of guy. I can't, like, I've messed up so much in my life. I've done things so wrong in my life, and I'm not saying that that excuses any like clearly negative thing or unethical or immoral or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to give some blanket excuse on anyone's behavior, and yet at the same time, like, I know that people are thinking and they're trusting Trump for a reason, and I'm trying to even more and more figure that out, what that reason is. And I would just love to, like, if or reasons really, right? And I know we're going to get into some topics here, some questions that we've sent to each other, but really quick before we do that, what what is your, like, put an olive branch out to people that are love Trump, they love everything that he's doing. Um, Put an olive branch out, maybe, like, what is it that you think, like, how can you can you affirm that, how can you affirm that, um or understand it or have empathy in that? And then I think, like, how can, like, what do you encourage them to do to see from a different perspective, like maybe see from your perspective a little bit more without just trying to say I'm true because I'm saying it or whatever? How do they kind of what can they do to, would you encourage them to do to understand more of your side of why you're saying what you're saying?
You'll probably have to use a specific example. Otherwise, I could probably go all over the place.
Yeah, so maybe the Zelensky example, and, like, how can they see it from your side to say, like, that, like, to try to understand why it is that you feel like what happened was so negative. And, that's probably an example right there. Do you need more than that, or is that
No, no,
sufficient?
perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think that that's a really good example because I actually just wrote a blog about it, which, by the way, I have a Substack. You can subscribe to it if you want. I don't write a lot, but I do try. But with the Zelensky stuff, everybody has an opinion about it. And when I talk to people, part of my sort of job or strategy is just to find out, like what's the starting point in history that they are basing their um, assessments on. So if they are basing it on their knowledge of, Trump's first impeachment, if that's the first time they've ever heard Ukraine, like, that informs me that, like we're going to be coming from two completely different places, with regards to the Ukraine issue. So if they were to, say, I don't know what the big point is, whatever, I might say, what do you know about Putin? Do you know that Ukraine used to be a part of, like Russia, Soviet Union, USSR, and and there was a point in time when like Ukraine and Russia and America actually made an agreement that basically, like, they would protect Ukraine. And if if I even interject the fact that it's like, well, Bill Clinton, was the one that got us into the agreement. So if you're looking for another Clinton to hate, like, there you go,
There you go, Bill. Slick
Uh,
Willie.
yeah, and it's like they put this agreement together. It's called the Budapest Memorandum for anybody that wants to Google it. And the deal, paraphrasing, is Russia still had a lot of stockpile of nuclear weapons in Ukraine when they separated. So the deal was basically Ukraine, you give up your nukes, and America and Russia, I think there are some other countries in there, would basically keep you safe. That deal blew up when Russia annexed Crimea. And kind of the rest is history. I won't walk you through the details, but to say, if I can at least educate them and say, hey, here's the history that I know, like my view about what's happening in Ukraine right now is premised on all this information. So it just all boils down to like, how much work do you want to put into convincing them,
Right.
because it's like it's not my job to convince every single person to think like I do, because I wouldn't want that. Like,
Right.
like I think it's fine to have like healthy disagreements about stuff, as long as we can still talk about them. So I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I always love getting your insight on this stuff because I know, and I can speak like as your friend and someone who, disagrees on many political issues, right? Which we've never actually gone along the lines. That's probably should be something we should do. Like, okay, let's talk about what do you think about this? What do I think about this? But anyway, this isn't a planning session.
Yeah, well,
It's
we can only do that when we figure out how to like fix the YouTube.
exactly, dude. Hey, we'll get that fixed, dude. Don't worry. But let's move into the questions, dude, that we were working through. And so we each sent each other some questions, and we're about 42 minutes in here. So want to be kind of cognizant of time. So maybe we could just answer one right each and then see where we're at. And that probably is going to take us to time. I had a question. Do you want me? I can go first if
Sure.
you're cool with that. And is there one of those questions that you wanted me to do more than the other?
It doesn't matter. It just surprised me. Yeah.
All right. So here's the question that one of the questions I was sent, and Will sent this to me. It says, throughout history, Christianity has played a central role in shaping American.
Wait, stop. Are you reading the question I sent to you?
Yeah. Oh, wait. I need to give you a question.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Well, okay. Then you want to ask me, or you want me to ask?
Yeah. I'll ask you. Okay.
All right. Boom.
All right. Here we go. Will's question for Josh, which involves faith and voting, balancing morality and policy. So here's the question. Many Christians grapple with supporting political leaders who do not embody biblical values, but advocate for policies that align with certain religious or moral convictions. How much should our faith inform our vote? And what does it mean if our consistent voting patterns result in leaders who fail morally or govern unjustly? Should this cause us to reevaluate how we apply biblical principles to politics? Or does it suggest that we're prioritizing the wrong aspects of faith in the political sphere? If our vote repeatedly leads to corrupt or ineffective leadership, what does that reveal about the way we as Christians are engaging with power? You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, dude, to solve these problems. Answer this question. It is. It's all right. I'm intrigued by the question because it's the thing that I rack my brain about a lot is, hey, how do we live out these biblical principles in a democratic, pluralistic society like America, right? And it was certainly founded in a Christian context. it was founded in a context that where just about every major power, at least in the West, right, was pretty much explicitly Christian. Although all of that, right, these labels, putting something as Christian, I would say, whenever I say that, I mean culturally Christian.
Yeah.
Because governments have always acted like governments. They've always tried to gain power. They've always used power to coerce, to try to get people to do what they want them to do. And I don't even necessarily think that's bad every time, right? I mean, even if I think about the Apostle Paul, who was himself a Roman citizen, who used his Roman citizenship to his advantage on several occasions. He was not born in Jerusalem, although he was a very devout Jew, but he was what we call a diaspora Jew. He was born outside of the Holy Land area, so to speak, to kind of put it in more modern wording. And so you have him in Romans 13, and where he essentially is saying to give honor to the government. And the government he's referring to at that time is the Roman Empire, which was by no means a Christian empire at that time, culturally in any way, right? It was a pagan power in the sense that the polytheistic state gods, all of that. And the Romans were very practical, and every government. So he lived under, I don't want to get distracted. He lived under this very strong arm empire of the Roman government, and he says to pay taxes. He says to give honor. He says, and in particular, that the governments, God has given state the power of the sword, the power of coercion, is what I would say for that. And he literally meant the sword, violence. He has given them that power in order to keep order, in order to maintain peace. And it seems to me the argument is that it would maintain peace and keep order so that the people of God could keep doing the things that the people of God do, which is have missionary efforts, which is to live lives above reproach, supposed to, right? We're talking about long time ago, right? And right in the beginning, and Christians have struggled to live a life that was really attractive to outsiders since the beginning, and they've struggled with all sorts of issues. And so there's always been this relationship that Christianity had with power. For the first 300 years of Christianity, it had to live under a government that wasn't necessarily positive or friendly towards it. At several points, it was explicitly not friendly. It even became an illegal religion under the reign of Nero, and that basically went all the way until Constantine. So this isn't a lesson necessarily in Christian history, except to say that, yeah, take that to America, take that to where we are now. Well, we are in a country that was started in a Christian context all the way because of Rome, because of what happened in Constantine, because of the spread of Christianity all over Europe, and then the center of Christianity moved from the eastern part of the empire all the way over to the west, and basically stayed. Then Christianity, the center became in Rome, at least the center of power. There's always been an Eastern church, but anyway. So what do we do as people that now have a vote, as people that can speak our minds, as people that can have some kind of part of the political process that's available to more people than any other time in history? What do we do with that? And that's a really hard question to answer, because you want to go to the Bible and you just want a plain answer. And what you find, though, is you find that you have to wrestle with things. So you have Paul in Romans 13. Again, it's almost like positive towards the state. Then you go to a work like Revelation, and in Revelation, which tradition shows that the Apostle John wrote near the end of his life in 90 AD, in first century, around then, and he's actually very anti-Roman. You see a lot of imagery about 7 hills. You see things, 7 heads, and it was very well known. Rome had 7 hills that it was built on. Basically, you look at the scholarship, if you look at it, and you say Babylon is essentially Rome. It's essentially talking about Rome. And at that time, I think it was Domitian. It was an
Domitian.
emperor. Yeah, so Domitian was an emperor.
I'm just joking. No.
Oh, thanks. It was an emperor who started to persecute Christians. And so you have at this time where there is this kind of a state persecution, and what you see is that there's this negative now view given in this New Testament letter that was written probably 50 years, probably 40 years after Paul's letters were written. And so what do you have? Well, you have two different time periods of Christianity, both people that were apostles, writing under different contexts. One in which Rome seemed to be, and in the book of Acts, Rome was pretty friendly towards Christianity, much more than Judaism at that time, because essentially they just saw them as another Jewish sect, and they're like, why are you guys bothering us with these internal disputes that you have? Like, get rid of that. I don't want anything to do with that kind of idea. Don't bother me with that stuff. And they just wanted to keep order. And then you have this kind of intense persecution, and you have a change in the apostle. By this point, Paul had been dead for 30 years, and you have a change. And he and Peter were killed by a Roman emperor. And so context matters. Things change. And I think that when we do have a leader or leaders, that Christians should be concerned about the moral character of their leader, not that they have to be a Christian. And I think that that's really important. You don't have to be a Christian to be a moral person. I strongly believe in the message of Jesus. I strongly believe in biblical principles of morality. But you don't have to be a Christian to be a leader, or a Christian to lead a nation morally.
Whoa. That's like the most Democrat thing I've ever heard you say.
Is it? Well, I mean, you know what, dude? But I truly believe that. I truly believe that because I'll say this, dude. I think it's much better. And I'm going to say something that maybe I'll get canceled.
Excommunicated or something.
Excommunicated. Well, and here's what I really, really think, man. Like, if someone is going to be a politician, we should be most concerned about their morals. Not, are they people of character? Are they people of character? Do they have integrity? Do they lie? Do they cheat? Do they steal? Are they faithful people? Are they people, right? And none of that is specifically Christian. None of that is specifically Christian. Although you would assume a Christian would do that. But I would say that I would rather have an atheist who is a moral person of character, integrity, a person who says one thing and means it, doesn't say one thing here, another thing here, is not manipulative, all those things. I'd rather have a person of character that's an atheist, or put in any label there, a person who's of character, who's reasonable, who's a critical thinker, than I would to have someone who's in there just because they're Christian, but they've been proven to be immoral, or there's been things that have been shown about their character. And I think character is extremely important. And I think our votes matter, but I don't think you should vote for someone because they're Christian. I don't believe that. I used to believe that. I don't believe that anymore, because I think you should vote for them because they're moral. Now, if they're a pastor of your church, vote for them because they're Christian. If they're not Christian, they probably should go do something else, because they're not going to be able to take you where you need to go, right? Or if they're a spiritual advisor, and you're a believer, then go to someone who is a Christian, right? I mean, you want someone who's been following Jesus, and hopefully you're going to see that there's a correlation, a positive correlation between someone who's been following Jesus and their moral character, no doubt. But when we're talking about statecraft, when we're talking about how to run a nation, maybe they will be Christian, maybe they won't. If they're Christian, they got good morals, they got character, they got skill, they know how to do it, they're charismatic, all the better. But that's not a requirement. It used to be in my mind, but it's not, because it just doesn't make sense, because I don't think morality is tied to any one religion explicitly or any one viewpoint explicitly. I think there are things that, in my mind, this is actually kind of an argument for Christianity and for God's existence, that there are, it seems like, these certain moral aspects that are so important across, like universally important. And you want someone who's gonna match those. I know I was talking a lot there. I don't know if I hit every one of your
you did
things, but
yeah, and yeah, great job. Why don't you ask mine, and then I'll answer it in exactly, well, I'll answer in 4 minutes. I mean,
no, you can do 10, dude. We said it was going to be between 60 and 75 minutes.
All right,
we're good.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm ready. Lay it on me.
All right, I got to go find the question that I sent to you so I can read it to you.
I did.
I had them written down.
I did try to put it in the chat so folks can see it, but for some reason it wasn't working for me. So you may have to try it on your end. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Well, here's a question.
Okay.
In light of the increasing polarization in America, in American politics, do you think the country is at a breaking point? Or is this just another cycle in the broader historical pattern of division and reconciliation? And along with that, what factors, social, economic, ideological, are most responsible for deepening the divide? If there is one, which I think we all kind of know there is, but what's most responsible? Again, social, economic, ideological, and what, if anything, can bridge it?
All right. So I think that what we're seeing in today's politics is not new. It seems like it's new, and everything seems like it's on fire, or at least in my camp. I can't speak to everybody that might be watching this. At least in my neck of the woods, it seems like things are really, really bad. But like, one of the things I think I really enjoy about our podcast is just being able to better understand the interplay between people of faith and politics, and I think it's accurate to say that since the founding of this country, every major inflection point that has sort of like fundamentally changed our country had religion at the center of it, like in some form or capacity.
You're absolutely right, man.
And it's just like, whether it's like, you're thinking about manifest destiny and the genocide of all the indigenous people, or you're thinking about just using the Bible to perpetuate slavery and segregation, even like the school vouchers, like school vouchers are a byproduct of the church's response to integration after Brown v. Board education. I mean, essentially they were like, we don't want to do this, so we're gonna get government funding and hand out the school vouchers and still have our like whites only colleges. So it's just like it's really, really, but what we're seeing today isn't new. All of the things that we're seeing against marginalized communities today, LGBTQ specifically, Christians are at the center of that. And, I am not optimistic that things will necessarily get better. Um, um, but I'm somewhat inspired by the rise of people of faith, at least just becoming more aware of like how they are, they're being used. There's a lot of people, and there might even be a lot of people that are watching this and like, what the heck? It sounds like conspiracy theory, like, no, like, I don't think I am. If you regularly listen to the podcast, listen to our experts, you can kind of connect the dots yourself. And happy to, have email correspondence with anybody to kind of give them books to read or things to show. If I'm wrong, then shoot, like I'll record something and be like, hey, this thing I've been saying, like, hey, I'm super wrong. But I don't think I am. So, I think that if we're going to get out of this, we just need more people of faith to just show up and to just be present. I'm not talking about like, standing on a street corner handing out tracts or, inviting, more of your friends to church or something like that, unless it's River City Underground, of course. But
exactly.
I'm more or less just talking about like, take pride when your like atheist, agnostic, non-believing friends text you, with questions about people of faith, because all they're seeing is just all the bad stuff, right? And they're like, it's almost like if Christianity were a country and all they were exporting were people that stormed the Capitol, like nobody would want to do business with that country, so it's like, you have to kind of be the light, I think, to other people. And I think you and I have had this conversation before about like LGBT stuff, where I'm just like, why are Christians targeting sort of this demographic? Like, they all know already what Christians think about them, like why do we have to, remind them constantly, that what they're doing is, wrong and whatever like that. And mind you, I don't think it's wrong. So I'm sort of using the common refrains you hear about the stuff. So, so Christians just got to do better. But for those that do care, doing better can just mean just being present with your non-believing friends.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate that. And I think in the future, man, we'll do more of these point of views, do some more live things. We're going to have more of that coming out, and maybe we can take some of these big issues, right, and kind of just hit each of them and work through that. I love working through this stuff. I want to work through it. I want to work through these issues. I think they're really important, and I just want to continue to increase dialogue and understanding, and like my feelings about all sorts of different political issues, from the LGBTQ, same-sex marriage issues, to the abortion issues, to immigration issues and gun control. We talked about that, but bringing this out and talking about it more, because we have to learn how to talk to people that we don't agree with, and understand why they really think that. So I just appreciate your answer, man. I appreciate your heart. You're my good friend, and you're welcome, Rhonda. She said thank you. Appreciate hearing your points of view. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate that. We will do it. Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it, Michael.
Yeah, I would say if you guys haven't visited our website, there's a lot of really, really good information on it. It's just faithfulpolitics.com, so really easy to find. We even have a religion in America timeline that I built, starting from the founding to present, somewhat present. So that's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Also, there's links to a whole 5-part series we did on Christian nationalism. Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
So that's there, and yeah, same to you, Josh. Appreciate you. I don't really do all the mushy stuff. That's a Republican thing.
That's a Republican thing. We'll just do air hugs, dude. Air hugs.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, I know the YouTube wasn't working. Jericho and Ronan, I see you. You can watch the replay. We
Malachi,
love you.
Noel, and Autumn, and Ashley, love you. I hope you guys tuned in at some point to watch your dad embarrass himself a little.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you were going to throw the wife in there. Margaret, I love you too.
Oh shoot! I shouldn't have overdone you like that. That was messed up.
But all right. Well, that's all we got. Cool. And
thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye. I think I hit